Hello and welcome to another Tabletop Games Blog video. It's nearly the end of 2018 and it's of course time for our top 5 games of the year. It's been actually quite a good year. I've been lucky to play about 25 games, different games over the year, including playtesting, print and plays, online games, obviously games in our weekly Games Night group, and even took part in a meetup session in Brighton, which was great fun. So I thought, given that it's 25 games, I'm not going to do the top 10, that seemed to be a bit too much. I'm going for top 5 of those games that I've actually played. It's only the games that I've played a few times, just to make sure it's a proper list rather than a game that I played once and I really loved or really hated. A one-time play don't think is enough. And of course this is a very subjective list. It's not really a list of recommended games because I don't know what sort of games you might like or what might fit your group. But of course, if you did ask me what games I would recommend, these 5 would definitely be amongst them. So here goes, and as a tradition, we'll do it in reverse order, starting with the top 5 game and working our way up to the top. Top 5, The Seventh Continent by Serious Pulp. In my view, Seventh Continent is probably the first proper choose-your-own-adventure tile-laying game that really works. It's a cooperative game where all players can decide their own thing. They can do whatever they want because there's rarely a situation where it's clear what everyone should be doing. So you can go away and do your own thing, the group can split up, or you can work together. It really depends on what people feel like. In a lot of other games of this type, you tend to have to do one specific action. There's very rarely any specific choice and people have to work together. So you might, in the Seventh Continent, be in a situation where you get to the beach and you see there's some crabs, so you go catch them even if there's no one else around, and then you can share them with your friends later. The game itself consists of a number of curses, which are basically like different chapters in the overall story. And each curse plays over many hours. It's not unusual that it could be literally take days to play a chapter. But it means there needs to be obviously a save session where you can save the state of the game and come back to it later. And the Seventh Continent does that really well. There's virtually any point that you can stop, but the only important thing is that the whole team is in the same place, on the same tile. And it's also very quick to set up again when you play it again next time round without losing any of the game state. Nothing is perfect in any game, and the same is true with Seventh Continent. In fact, storing the game after save session isn't necessarily the most well, it works really well, but the problem is you have to sort of start exploring the continent again, so you start on the tile that you finished the last session at. However, it does work and it's really quick to save the game and start again. Of course, it's also a game that I think is almost a gateway game. You don't have to have much experience of playing games like this. It's quite easy because everyone really does what they feel is the right strategy in that situation, or the right choice. In fact, there is very little strategy involved because you don't really know what's going to be happening next. You're just literally exploring an area, a continent, and trying to survive. And even that survival element really comes across at every point. You think the island is out to come and get you, and you're trying to work together to stay alive. So it's definitely a game that I want to play over and over again, and I think it's a well-deserved top 5 place. Top 4, Rising Sun by Simon. I love games that have lots of player interaction, strategy, battles, and of course minis. And in Rising Sun by Simon you get a huge mix of all of these, including minis that are actually so big that I've started calling them bigatures. In the game you control an army of warriors that fight over different regions in Japan. You can send your Shinto to pray in the shrines to get the favour of the gods. You order monsters to boost your forces, and one of the main elements, and at the beginning of each season you decide to form alliances with other players, well, with one other player. And that creates a really interesting dynamic because you might have 2 clans that really work well together, forming an alliance, leaving 2 other players or more to have to work together as well, even though they might not actually work so well together. Yet at the same time, each line can be broken. So when you want to go alone halfway through, you might benefit from the alliance for some of the rounds and then decide to break the alliance because it gives you an advantage. So there's a constant pull and push between players trying to form alliances at the beginning and then hoping to keep their partner together because it benefits them, and then suddenly breaking it. It is quite a heavy game. There's lots of thinking ahead involved and lots of responding to what other players are doing, because every turn everyone can place, well, depending on what they're playing, they can place their figures onto the board and you have to respond accordingly, moving yours out of the way or adding more to a region. It's certainly a game that I really enjoy. There's lots of ways of gaining points, so you can follow different strategies and still win, and there's also honor involved. So for example, breaking alliance loses your honor, and honor can break ties and give you advantages. So there's definitely lots to think about and lots to do, and of course the minis are what makes the game so interesting. Being able to take a big monster and plonk it on the board is very satisfying. So yes, I definitely look forward to playing Rising Sun again and again. It is one of those games that, you know, after a couple of rounds your brain starts to hurt because you have to think about what you're doing, what all different monsters are that are on the board and what they do, and how to defeat them and what to do next. And then of course there's a sort of betting way at the end when you come to the battle situation, this battle phase. You put your coins down, betting on winning certain phases of the battle, and it makes for a very, very complex game. So yes, it's one that if it's offered I definitely can't turn down, and it's very beautiful. So top 4 of top 5 is definitely a deserved place for Rising Sun by Simon. Top 3, Above and Below by Red Raven Games. This game has a very special place in this list because it's the game that has been around in our family since about 2015, on or off. We haven't been playing it continuously. And it was one of the first games that we played with our daughter after enjoying it a lot in our games group. And it was the game that brought our daughter back to the table after about a year of not playing games with us. And it now has a special place for that reason. But of course, Red Raven Games, Ryan Lowcott has you know, a special place anyway because he's such a great artist. The art in this game is so beautiful. The storytelling is lovely as well as you go exploring into the caves. So the writing is very nice and the gameplay is a lot of fun. It's, I'd say, a gateway game, easy to learn for people. It seems very complex, but as you start playing it, it is quite clear what you have to do. There's very few choices to take, and it's, as I say, it's just so much fun to play. I highly recommend it, even though I said I wouldn't recommend games in this list, but yeah, as I say, it's top 3, a well-deserved place for Above and Below by Red Raven Games. Top 2, Codenames Duet by Czech Games Edition. This is a 2-player only game and therefore stands out from the rest of the games in this list. It's very addictive. It's one of those games when you start playing you sort of can't stop. It's very similar to obviously the other Codenames games, and the idea is that one player has to give a single word clue to the other player, and the other player has to decide what words that are set out in a 5x5 grid on the table this clue relates to. So you really have to think about what the other player might be thinking with that clue. Sometimes it's easier, sometimes it's quite obvious what words are connected by this clue, sometimes it's not. The problem though is, you can't just choose any word. The words that you have to guess have to match a certain key card on which the 5x5 grid is listed, with certain cards highlighted in green as the ones you have to guess. So you might be in a situation where you have 4 words quite clearly linked, say there's 4 animals on the table, but you only want your teammate to guess 3 of those words. So you can't just say animal and say it's 3 words because it wouldn't be easy to decide which of those 3 animals to choose. So this creates a really difficult game, very addictive. As I say, I really enjoy playing it. You have to sometimes use clues that you know your partner does understand what they mean. There can be sort of in-jokes, if you like. And sometimes you just have to hope and pray that your partner knows what you're trying to refer to. There's obviously various levels of difficulty. You sort of, in theory, work your way around the world, but every place in the world basically recommends a certain setup with different difficulties. And it's definitely a fun game. As I say, it's 2-player only, but there's other games in the Codename series that are for more players. And it's great fun. So one of those games that you could take with you anywhere, quite easy to take with you, and very easy to teach and learn. Definitely one for the holidays as well. So this is Top 2 Codenames Duet by Czech Games Edition. Top 1 Mystic Vale by Alderac Entertainment Group. Yeah, Mystic Vale is my absolute favorite of 2018. I've played it dozens and dozens of times. I mean, literally dozens of times. A lot of times online on yakata.de, which I strongly recommend for anyone who wants to play a game online with other people. And it'll definitely be played more and more in 2019 as well. My friend who's got the game is thinking about buying some more of the expansions, so we can play some more. It's a 2 to 4 player game with a twist. It's a sort of deck building game, but you don't actually build a deck. You have a fixed deck. Everyone starts with the same set of cards, but each card is actually a card sleeve, and into that card sleeve you can slide upgrades to make each card more powerful. So when you play your cards, you get a certain amount of money you can spend on upgrades, and you can also get other values which give you what they call the Veil cards, which gives you additional abilities or points. And you keep going round and round, and there's even a sort of push your luck element to it, where you draw a certain number of cards, and some cards have what they call a sort of red symbol, red circle on them. If you have 3 of those showing, you spoil your field, which means you basically miss your go. And you can basically keep pushing until you run out of luck and spoil your field, or you can stop at any point, and that's what makes this game also very interesting, this push your luck element. The artwork is beautiful. As I say, the idea of upgrading cards is amazing. So it's such an amazing mix of games. It's also a multiplayer solitaire game, so for those people who prefer playing together with friends but really playing their own game, it's really good. It's got very easy to learn rules, so again, a gateway game I would call it. And you don't have to think too much. There's a right level of complexity into this, and as I say, beautifully illustrated. So a well-deserved top 1 for me, Mystic Vale by Alderac Entertainment Group, and I can't wait to play it again. And in fact, I'll probably be playing it today on the computer against a few other people. So this is it, the top 5 of 2018 for Tabletop Games Blog. So thank you for watching. If you enjoyed this video, please subscribe, like and comment below, and check out the links to my Patreon, Ko-fi page, Twitter feed and the blog in the description below, plus some links to other videos. And that's really it. Thank you very much for watching all those videos in 2018, and I hope to see you again in 2019.